Okay, great. Welcome back in this part of the training, and we are going to continue everything related to actually creating interesting content. So, one of the important things when it comes to creating interesting content is actually identifying what people want, okay, versus what you want, right? So, what you want and what they want. So one of the common mistakes that I see a lot of writers make is actually they just publish what they want to publish. So they just write about things that they want to write. And this is obviously a good thing, writing about something that you're interested. But if you only stop here and never really talk about what people want to read, then you are actually just going to publish for yourself. So why actually going through all the hassle about creating a Medium creating a Medium account, writing a Medium, getting frustrated because you don't have anybody, reacting, and actually resonating with what you have to say. Well, then just keep a journal, right? So what you have to understand is that people are selfish, right? And that this means that even though you should obviously write about stuff that you're interested in, but actually just stopping there and never showing empathy, never actually bringing it back to them, never actually, making the link between what you enjoy and what's in for them, you are actually just going to struggle, right? And this is why it's so important to actually understand what people want, what people are going through. And this is why, like I always say to content creators, is that you have to actually solve a problem. This is why you also see so many people actually, struggle to make a living online, because, they are just, into this mindset that, well, you have to do something that you love, or just you have to be a writer and, just dreaming about a writer status and that kind of stuff. But this is not how you build a business. You build a business by solving problems, right? And the more painful those problems are, the more harder they are to solve, the better you're going to get paid, right? And this is why it's so important to actually start getting, forgetting a little bit about yourself and just, putting yourself in the shoes of people who are in front of you, right? And ideally, you should be you should understand your market, right? So this is actually like what it's all about. Obviously, this course is not about market research and how to find your niche, but if you have, let's say, a hard time into actually identifying your niche, into actually turning this into a business, well, I have other trainings on my website that can actually help you with that. But this is crucial to understand. So it's nice to have, let's say, followers on Medium, but the thing is that unless people actually, unless you're, let's say, you're just here to entertain people without actually giving them real value, right? And just, being that inspirational kind of writer, or like nothing wrong with that. But I think, and like I have a strong stand on this, is that if you really want to impact people's lives, well, then you just have to go beyond just, writing an article. Like you can't really change people's lives in, like, let's say, with a 500 word articles, or even with a 2,000 word article, right? Like if you want to really to change people's life, you just really have to address their problem, right? And yes, posting inspirational content is nice. It will also get you a lot of follows, a lot of collabs, a lot of social approval, but it's not really how you change people's lives. And if you are in this business, just to help people out, help them change their life, you just have to go beyond that, right? And you can actually only change people's life if you actually think about the real problems. What are their life look like, right? What are they going through? Okay. So this is why it's so important to actually always, think about the people who's going to read your article, right? Unless it's your grandma or your mom or someone in your family, they may not be interested about like the whole story or the thing that you just want to write about, right? Actually start with people and always ask yourself, this is a powerful question, right? Okay, it may seem kind of a quote unquote boring advice, but always ask yourself, well, what is the one thing that I want people to take away from this article, from any piece of content, right? So even if it's just a promotional email, so let's say you see that I'm sending promotional emails, but everything behind those emails, there is always a lesson. There is always a takeaway. I always value people's time because I don't like when people waste my time. This is one of the things that I really hate. And the thing is that even though it's just a promotional email, right, I always try to write this email in such a way that people, even though they are not buying my stuff, they always walk away with an insight, right? With something that made them think about something, right? And I know if I can give people an insight every day, at the end of the day, they are just going to make progress just by reading my free promotional stuff, right? And this is how you actually start impacting people's lives. Give them an insight every day, and you're going to see that people will actually, remember you, right? And down the line, they're probably also going to buy your stuff. So pretty powerful thing here. So the thing is that I want you to right now actually brainstorm and understand and really, getting aware about people's problems, right? So what are the struggles? What are the problems that you're solving? So what are the struggles? What are the problems? What are the situations of the people that you are talking to, right? So what is their situation? So as an example, if you help people, let's say, lose weight with the keto diet, well, what are the struggles, right? Okay, they are overweight, or they maybe feel they have, let's say, issues with their energy. How does this impact their life? Well, maybe I don't know. Let's say they have like issues with their significant other. Maybe they just are tired of looking stupid in front of their colleagues when they go to, let's say, when they work out together, and that kind of stuff, right? So I really want you to really understand who you're writing for, right? Because if you don't know who you're writing for, then, well, your writing will just be vague, it won't be specific, and people won't be able to actually identify with it, right? So really do the exercise of actually understanding the problems. What are the situations that they go through? And one of the interesting things that you can do is actually, just look at the articles that are published in the specific category, in a specific tag, in a specific publication, and then just see which articles actually have a lot of engagement. And there are, let's say, some publications, as I mentioned earlier, let's say in the startup, right? So if this is actually people that you want to target, they actually have kind of an article where they simply talk about their top stories of the specific month. So as you can see here, this may not be done on a regular basis, but there are some publications. Maybe you can also subscribe to them via email and simply get their top stories, right? And just see and just try to reverse engineer. So as you can see here, they're also giving you the top ideas, the top highlights. And this gives you actually some interesting insights. So let's just do this exercise together here. And as you can not only use Medium, but you can also use Reddit. You can also use Amazon with your specific niche, let's say gardening, and then just see, well, what are the books that are selling well, and then just see what are the ideas behind the book, and what are actually people saying in the comments and in the reviews, right? So I'm not going to do the whole exercise for a whole niche, but this is actually something that you actually should think about, and that you can do your market research and actually start understanding what people are struggling with. As you can see here in the startup, you have actually, the different stories, like it's the top stories, and you can actually quote unquote reverse engineer. Maybe you just have to dig deeper into the article itself, or you can just, understand like what people are struggling with and what they want simply by actually reading the title. So one of the great titles is, as you can see, 4 tricks to steal from spam writers who make $7,000 per day. So as you can see, again, you have the specificity, 4 tricks, you have this kind of curiosity piquing statement, and the contrast between spam writers and making legit $7,000 per day, right? So as you can see here, don't really have to read the article. I know that, well, it's going to talk about how to make more money, right? So, quote unquote, common desire, right? It's like how to lose weight. Who wants to lose weight? Probably everyone and their dog. So same thing. So the only paid tools I use as a solopreneur. So, well, as you can see, solopreneur, who don't really want to spend a lot of money into tools. Well, this gives you exactly the only things that I have to spend money on. So it's more kind of a how to save money, right? So here I have how to make more, how to spend. Apple just ranked 15 plus startups in less than 1 hour. Well, not really sure that this is something that will appeal to the people that I'm targeting, but 50 Shades of LinkedIn, cringe, and your 9 to 5 is your biggest competitive advantage. Never give up. So here you can see, well, this kind of a motivational kind of piece of content. Well, I could dig deeper into that, but just to give you an example, this is actually something that also is quite interesting if you actually want to understand what people are looking for in your audience, right? So you can use this, let's say, as I told you, with Medium, right? Either just looking at the trending, at the best tab, right? So just to give you just for a quick refresh, let's just go back here. So as you can see, you have like so you have here the trending and you have the best, right? So you can actually filter that between month, year, all time. So, well, you just have to, do your research here, right? It could also be like in the publications, but it can also be outside that, right? Because like, let's say like your problems are probably also like people are not hanging out on Medium, right? So if you want to do this on social media, let's say if you have some specific groups, you can do that there. You can do it on Amazon with, let's say, the books, right? And also looking at, let's say, the reviews, the comments, and also simply look at at the best sellers, right? So what are the best sellers, and what are actually their big ideas? So what is the big idea of a specific book, right? And then just start isolating it. So if, let's say, you are into home gardening, well, what people actually want, well, they want to eat healthier, they want to be kind of self-resilient and that kind of stuff, right? So here you have the big ideas, here you have the desires, right? Now you can come up with the obstacles. Why are people struggling? Maybe they're not getting the right seeds, or maybe they don't know how to pick the plants depending on their geographical location and that kind of stuff, right? So then you just have to dig deeper. But this is actually like the thing that you have to get right if you want to actually succeed and create compelling content, right? Because it's all about your market. If you don't know who you're talking to, how can you create interesting content, right? And the thing is, obviously, either you are in the market or either you let me just write it down here. So when it comes to the market, so either you are one person of the market, right? So you're your target market, right? Or actually you have done enough research about the market and actually know what the market is struggling with, right? So there is actually no way around that, right? So once you've identified actually the problems and the struggles, now comes actually, illustrating everything that comes along your way, or the things that you're going to talk about with personal examples. And the thing is that you don't have to talk about your whole life or what actually happened. Like, you just want to, let's say, if you are actually writing about the keto diet, right, and how you actually lose 15 pounds using the keto diet, well, then just illustrate that with a personal story about this specific thing. Like, you don't have to go back to let's say, to like talking about everything around that, right? So let's say, or you're just talking about one specific workout, okay? So one specific workout, just incorporate a specific story about that. So it may be around how you actually discovered this workout, or how you've applied 1,500,000 workouts in the past and that never worked. And just illustrate this with the story, but the story has to be straight to the point. Never forget for who you are writing for. So right now, I want you actually, actually after brainstorming those specific problems, I actually want you to think about what personal touch can I add when, let's say, I'm talking about this or about that. So just to give you an example, for me, when it comes to note taking, there are several problems. So actually not being able to find stuff that I took notes from, right? Or let's say not revisiting, okay, not revisiting my notes. What else? Well, okay, let's just go for those two examples here. Well, here what I can do, let's say if I know that actually finding notes is an issue, well, what I can do is right now is I can actually just find, let's say, three personal stories, or at least one personal story that actually illustrates this. So as an example, well, I remember when I, took a note about a specific book, and then I just wanted to reuse the quote, but then blank page. I wasn't able actually to find where I took the book notes, but I was actually sure 100% that I took the specific notes. So the issue that I got, well, I wasn't able, let's say, to do my presentation, and then blah, 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 where I spent 2 hours actually in retrieving this, or I had to purchase this book again because I've lost it. Anyways, like you just come up with a personal story that illustrates actually the problem, right? When it comes to revisiting, well, same thing. You're just going to tie this to specific stories or specific things that happen in your life, or to someone who knows that you helped out, right? So this is actually another exercise that you have to do in order just to make your content compelling and to just add your personal touch, right? So you're a human. People are reading your story, so it's your story because of like it's your story, right? Because there is a human behind it, right? So same thing. Like I remember, like for giving some advice to another creator who was just sending out newsletters by actually curating other people's content. And while there is certainly value in curating content and just giving you, let's say, the 80/20, the thing is that, well, I told him, well, look, I'm subscribed to your newsletter, right? So so I want your personality actually in the newsletter. Else, well, I could just subscribe to, or curate, like just getting the information from somewhere else, right? I'm not saying this to discount actually the value that there is in curating, but the thing is, like, I would like to know more about yourself, right? So this is actually the whole thing. Same goes for your articles, right? Incorporate a personal touch. But again, the thing is to find the sweet spot. You don't want to overload this with, just some random personal selfish talk. No, just illustrate it to the point that is actually useful for this specific piece of content, okay? So the other thing, to actually make your content more compelling, is to actually understanding, again, we're going to talk about the topic, the struggles, the problems, right? The desires. But the thing is that we want to actually take a stand for against like things that are quote unquote standard in your specific category. So if, let's say, everyone who wants to lose weight, let's say, goes into intermittent fasting, well, then you may have a stand like an intermittent fasting. Why? It's not good because of XYZ. Or if everyone is talking about keto, well, then let me just take a stand, let's say, around keto, right? It shouldn't be obviously like everything here serves the same desire, which is actually weight loss, right? But the thing is that there are obviously wrong solutions and things that you don't really agree with, right? And it's the time actually to quote unquote spit on the wrong solutions, right? So either you don't believe in them, or you think that they are not the right thing to do, or they may be harmful, right, for others, right? So let's bring that down. Let's bring that back. Let's say to content creation. So I'm a strong believer that funnels and all these kind of fancy internet marketing things, because I've done them for years, I know that they don't really move the needle, right? So they are certainly useful for some kind of people, but trying to optimize the 2.53% and changing the color of your buttons, this is like a pretty a wide range kind of mentality when it comes to internet market as well. I have to split test everything. I have to track everything. Well, there are things that you have to track, but things that are actually, that won't give you like that really don't move the needle, right? So let's say I have two choices, either changing the color of my button or actually coming up with a better offer. Well, what do you think will move the needle way more, right? It's actually coming up with a better offer, right? So it's all about like really prioritizing and actually putting your efforts into the right thing. So it's also called, like, what I like to call it, slaughtering the sacred cows in your niche, right? So let's say if everyone is talking about optimizing stuff, well, I would take a stand again why you don't have to optimize stuff, right? So let's say if everyone is talking about passive income, well, I'm going to tell them why I don't believe in passive income, because like every income, like, needs to be, you need to do something, right? So even though, let's say you have, let's say, some kind of, niche sites or stuff going on, well, this, you still need maintenance, you still need to keep up with them, you still need to actually do some kind of stuff. And I also don't believe in passive income, because, like, if you really enjoy doing things, why would you actually want to make it passive, right? So, well, I can go on a rant on that, right? So again, why I don't believe in intermittent fasting, while all weight loss programs are BS, and what you really need to do is actually, let's say, reprogram your brain or rewrite your brain and eat better and, do more exercise and that kind of stuff, right? So right now, what I want to do is I want you to actually identify the wrong solution. So identify the wrong solutions, right? Or the things that people think are the right things to do, but that you don't agree with, right? And actually keep them as a library. So let's say if tomorrow you're going to talk about creating an articles about, let's say, passive income when it comes to creating online courses, well, I can directly bump in this specific story about why I don't believe in passive income, right? So it's all about, again, illustrating this and showing that you have a strong point of view, right? People don't want to read from people who don't have any kind of point of view, who are just flat, right? It's all, again, about the contrast. It's about the contradiction. It's about how you can actually make people either hate you or love the stuff that you're talking about, right? So if you are just flat and, going with the wave and, just repeating what others are already telling you to do, well, then you're just, another quote unquote flat creator, right? But if you want actually people to engage with you, then you just have to take a stand. You just have to step up. You just have to stand for your ideas, right? And like, one of the things that I just want to mention here is that you don't have to create things like in a way that where you're going to offend people, right? It's not about, insulting, let's say, well, I'm against funnels, so I'm going to insult every creator who's against funnels, who's actually, promoting sales funnels. No, it's like you're just quote unquote against a specific idea, right? And you have to explain, like, why you are against a specific idea. Like, it's nothing. You're just, wrestling with ideas here. You're not wrestling with people, or you don't want to, to start hate speeching or, doing that kind of naughty stuff. Like, this is not what you want to do, right? You always, it's always like a battle of ideas, right? And, well, may the best win when it comes to ideas. So I just want to wrap this up when it comes to creating interesting content, because we've covered a lot. Obviously, you have to play also with the lengths of your sentences, right? If you can add, let's say, short sentences, long sentences, and then when it comes to the formatting, obviously I can't cover all aspect of everything, because everything on its own could be a course. But I just want to keep you going, right? And you're going to improve by yourself, like, the more you're going to practice, right? This is why I told you, like, having your fixing yourself, let's say, a goal of publishing one article a day, right? So one of the important things that you have to master when it comes to creating content for Medium, or any kind of content, written content, is actually the editing, right? So the thing is that don't expect actually your first draft to be the best, right? I would actually encourage you to just to do one round of editing. And one quote actually that I like is a quote by Bont Halbert, who was the son of Gary Halbert, the famous copywriter, who I think his son like studied copywriting with him for 2 decades, right? He actually says that the professionalism relies in editing, right? Which means that you want to first create a first draft, but the thing is you never want to skip the editing. So you always want to have a fresh eye around like the stuff that you actually wrote, and just being able to edit it. And a lot of editing is not, like rewriting stuff. Obviously, rewriting is part of the editing process, but most of the things when it comes to editing is actually removing things that aren't actually necessary, right? And the key is actually to actually make your editing process fast so that you don't spend hours and hours and hours in editing. So the thing is that everything that you can say in a shorter amount of time is actually better, right? In a shorter amount of words is actually better. So let me just give you, some words that you can almost delete every time. So as an example, one of the words you have is however, right? So however, and like everything that sounds, too academic. So it should take, let's say, an hour each day. However, you can do, let's say, you work out on your own schedule. So better way to do it to say it, let's say it should take or it takes 1 hour every day, and you can do most of your work or your homework on your own schedule. So simply remove however. Like every time you have, let's say, however, you can remove it. Same thing for the word that, right? Most of the time, 90% of the time, you can remove that from the equation, right? Words, let's say, like unfortunately, double negative. Let's say, I could not be more proud to, or you could actually easily say that, well, I'm incredibly proud to present you my new product or my latest worker, right? So the other thing is actually being able to like removing all those filler words. Let's say, right? Or honestly, simply, all those filler words, right? Like everything that you can remove, just cut the fat out. So this is actually something very, very interesting. So very, truly, really, all those words, you can easily remove them. And the thing is that one of the things that I really don't like about, let's say, some publications is that they have, let's say, a minimum of 1 word. They will tell you, well, we want at least, let's say, 1,000 word articles. And the thing is that unconsciously, this makes you write more and just use more filler words and use more repetitions. And most of the time, the only thing, like, you can have like powerful articles in just 500, 600 words. And in my opinion, in my biased opinion, is that the shorter you're able to make it, the shorter you can go to actually, just be able to pass over an idea, the better it is. So obviously, adding example, that kind of stuff can be interesting, but you're going to see that a lot of articles that, that try just to stretch themselves too much aren't actually, doing you a lot of favor, right? So really thinking about, making things concise. Obviously, if you're just going to like, let's say, if you want to publish in a specific publication, well, then you may, have to add some kind of, to fill your articles with some things. Okay, that may be a necessary devil or evil if you want to get into those publications. But the thing is, like, like the best way to do things is actually, being concise, right? Valuing people's time. You just have to, just find the right length, and there is like no secret sauce here, right? So sometimes you need to explain a little bit more, go a little bit more in details, and sometimes, just one sentence actually, is enough. So as an example here, let me just go back to my profile here. Or anyways, like there is an article where I that I mentioned previously, where I'm telling you where I told you that I just mentioned that, like, how to set information, everything is available for free. Like there is like one sentence that I mentioned is that, well, you can learn more online for free than in a $57,000 MBA, right? So as you can see, this sentence is straight to the point. I don't have to say, well, to illustrate that, you can go on YouTube and simply search for how to blah blah blah. Like I could have add some more fluff to this, but the truth is, like, if you can say it in one sentence, it's way more powerful, right? Actually, like, you just have to get your thoughts together in just, to make a simple statement, and if people understand what you're actually saying, that you don't really have to explain it further, right? So Well, this is when it comes to editing. Obviously, I have a lot more to say, but like the course started to become very, like very, very long at that point, and we still have one pillar to cover, which is actually predictability. So, with that being said, you have enough right now to actually make your content compelling, and obviously don't be afraid of actually sucking in your first articles. It's just like how it works. And the more you're going to practice, the more you're going to go back to this course and actually start understanding the nuances. Let's say on that specific kind of articles, let's say you just focus on the headline. On another one, you just focus on the opener. On one article that you're going to write, you're just going to focus on actually making your sentences shorter. On another one, you're just going to put your focus on let's say removing the filler words. And the more you're going to actually to practice, the more you can actually put your focus on one specific thing. And this is how you actually become better, right? So let's say, well, on my 10 first articles, I'm just going to put, let's say, a lot of efforts in actually removing the filler words. Well, truth is, after those 10 articles, you may be actually pretty good in actually removing the filler words. Well, then you can start another challenge. Let's say for the next 10 articles, I'm going to focus on something else, right? And this is how you can improve, and this is actually how you can actually also gamify your way to success. So I hope that makes a lot of sense. I know there is a lot of things that we talked about, but take it step by step, and I see you in the next one.